What's good, guys? Back at it again with another video. But before we get into this video today, I just would like to say that this video isn't sponsored by anybody. This video was shot by me personally at my own merit, and it was not sponsored by Sony. Yes, this is a Sony video. Today we're going to be talking about the Sony a7 III and my top 10 reasons why I think the Sony a7 III is worth the money. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Battery life. The battery life on this thing is amazing. In previous Sony versions of their cameras, the battery life kind of suck. The other camera that I have is the Sony a6500, and the battery life on that is horrible. You know, I can't really record too long before the battery, dies on me, and I don't get too many photos before the battery dies. Also, I shoot all my photos in RAW, not JPEG, and I normally shoot 4K video because it gives you, 100 megs when you shoot in 4K, opposed to shooting in 1080p, which only gives you about 50 megs, which is still good at 24p. But I prefer to shoot at 24p with 4K, and it gives me 100 meg. That's how I get these crispy, bright, clear, clean videos that you guys see most of the time. But yeah, the battery life in this thing is amazing. So by all means necessary, do not cheat yourself, treat yourself, and only buy the name brand Sony batteries. I've bought off-brand batteries before, but I've had some bad experiences where I will never buy an off-brand battery again, because the battery might start out working, and then next thing you know, the battery can go corrupt, and then it says on your camera that the battery is not compatible with the camera. And I've had that issue, and I've wasted money on off-brand batteries. So from now on, I will only buy name brand Sony batteries. So yeah, battery life. Okay, the next reason I want to say is Super 35 mode. Okay, so Super 35 crop mode is definitely a game changer for me, because what that allows me to do is use my previous purchased lenses from my APS-C lineup on my Sony a6500 and incorporate them into my workflow with my Sony a7 III. So what'll happen is when I attach my APS-C lens to the Sony a7 III body, I'll put it in Super 35 crop mode, and I'll customize one of my, my customizable buttons. It has 4, so I'll customize my button. My customized button is number 2 for my Super 35 crop mode. So once I put the lens on there, I'll hit the button, and it'll automatically engage Super 35 crop mode, and you will see the camera crop in immediately as soon as you hit the button. Now, if you deactivate the button, you'll see that the camera will jump back on the screen display, and it will have a circle or vignetting going around the circle, and that indicates that you are not in Super 35 crop mode. So yeah, Super 35 crop mode allows you to use all your previous lenses, from your APS-C lineup, if you have an APS-C lineup like I have. So yeah, Super 35 crop mode, definitely a game changer. Which now brings us to dual memory card slots. Okay, this camera has 2 memory card slots. One is UHS 1 and one is UHS 2. Me personally, I like to record my video to the UHS 2, and I like to record my photos to the UHS 1 memory card slot. That's just my personal preference. You can do it however you deem necessary to fit into your workflow. But what you also can do is, as well as separate video from photo, you can have it set up so that your memory cards record continuously while you record in video or photo. So say like if I'm at a paid gig and I'm shooting like a wedding or something, and I'm running out of space on one of my memory cards. Well, in continuous record mode set up on your your memory cards, you can roll over to your second memory card automatically, seamlessly, without touching your camera or doing any adjustments. So that is something that I would highly recommend you guys do if you're going on a paid gig, is continue to keep recording and set it up so that you guys can have it go from one memory card to the other one seamlessly, you know, without moving out of the spot that you're standing in. So yeah, dual memory card slots is a beast to have. A lot of cameras don't have it, and this one has it. So yeah, dual memory card slots. Which now brings us to customizable menus. Okay, so I've seen a lot of Sony YouTube videos from people, and a lot of people don't like the menu system on the Sony. I really haven't used any other cameras besides Sony because, you know, that's just my personal preference, and so therefore I don't really know what the other menus look like. But I can say this, I'm used to the Sony menu system, so I have no problem with it. But for all of you guys that have a problem with the Sony menu system, we now have customizable menus. So what that allows you to do is, if you're a Canon or a Nikon shooter or Fujifilm, you know, whatever, you can set up your menu system to fit, you know, however you deem necessary. You can put whatever you want in whatever slot you want to put it in, you know, with no worries. This way, when you go to your menu, you can jump right into whatever you want to jump right into, and you won't have no issues. So yeah, customizable menu system is definitely great to have, and it is a definite blessing for people that doesn't like, you know, the way Sony has their menu system set up. So yeah, customizable menus. Okay, this one right here is something that I definitely like once I saw that I was capable of doing this. Raw compressed versus raw uncompressed. Okay, so let me explain raw compressed versus raw uncompressed. Okay, so raw compressed, you know, it shrinks down the file size on your memory card. So this way, when you go to upload it to your laptop, desktop, or whatever you're uploading it to, you have a whole lot more memory card left to work with, opposed to raw uncompressed, which gives you a larger file. But having said that, it also gives you a little bit higher quality, you know, of a photo when, you know, you're working with photos or whatever. So if I was going on a paid gig, depending upon how many, you know, photos I was going to shoot, if I'm going to a gig where I'm not really going to shoot too many photos like that, maybe 100, 200, something like that, maybe 300 photos, I would probably go with the raw uncompressed. And, you know, I'll bite the bullet. It'll eat up a little bit of memory, but that's okay. However, if I was going to an event, say like a wedding, which I like to use because the wedding is the, you know, the grand finale of most photographers and videographers. That's like one of the most important jobs you're ever going to have. So if I'm going to a wedding and I'm shooting a wedding, at that moment, I'm probably going to go with raw compressed. Why? Because it shrinks down the file size, and if you're at a wedding, you're 9 out of 10 times going to shoot over 1,000 photos, like well over 1,000 photos from sun up to sundown. So this way you'll have a whole lot more memory card left to work with, and you'll still get high quality resolution photos. So yeah, raw compressed versus raw uncompressed is definitely dope to have. Okay, next up on the list is no screen cropping while recording 4K video. I love this because on my Sony a6500, once I hit that record button in 4K mode, the screen automatically crops in and it messes up, you know, my setup. So if I set the camera up a certain way and I have it, you know, looking the perfect way that I like to have it looking, so this way when I hit the record button, the screen doesn't crop in on my Sony a7iii. But on my Sony a6500, the screen would crop in and it would mess up my whole setup. So now you have no screen cropping while recording 4K video, which also brings us to the next one on the list, which goes hand to hand with that: no screen dimming while recording 4K video. So on my a6500, which I have to compare it to because that's the only other Sony camera that I have, besides my RX Mark IV, when you record in 4K, the screen not would only crop in, but the screen would dim down and it would make it harder for you to see. So if you want to shoot 4K video at night or something like that, it kind of would suck because, you know, it'll be harder for you to see the screen. Even if you turn your screen brightness up, it still dims it down, you know, significantly lower, making it harder to see. So yeah, no 4K screen dimming while recording video, and no 4K cropping while recording video. Okay guys, which brings us now to power save mode. Okay, now what power save mode does is it cuts off the camera after a certain amount of time of inactivity, and it saves you, you know, a lot of time, you know, when it comes to switching out batteries and things of that nature, because you won't have to switch out batteries as much if your camera cuts off by itself, saving the remainder of the battery that you last had, you know, from when you last used it. This definitely came in clutch for me, because the other night I was working on a project, I forgot the camera was on, I fell asleep, I woke up, I saw the camera on the on position, and I immediately started freaking out. But then I later realized that, hey, this camera got power save mode. So when I checked the level of the batteries was still exactly where they was at. Power save mode is definitely clutch. Okay, and now we come to what I think is my favorite feature of this camera, and probably a lot of you other guys' favorite feature of this camera, and that is the great low light sensitivity that this camera has. This camera is amazing in low light. It is a beast, and especially when you compare it to a lot of the previous models of the Sonys in low light that were horrible, where you see nothing but noise and stuff like that, and you got to use like third-party software and plug-in to get rid of the noise. With this camera, you pair it with a fast lens, you know, f1.8, f1.4, f2.0, f2.8, and this is a beast in low light. So this right here is a low light beast. I love this. Like, I've been in dim lit nighttime situations, I've been in almost pitch black nighttime situations, I've been in daytime situations where I was in the shade, and so on and so forth, and this camera has pulled through like a champ in low light. So the low light sensitivity is amazing on this. Number 10, last but not least, this is just an all-around fun camera to use. You know, out of all the cameras that I've used, I started out with a Canon T3i, which I didn't have for very long. And then, you know, I had the a6500, I had the Sony RX Mark IV, and now I have the a7 III. And out of all the cameras that I use, this one by far is the most funnest camera. This one by far, you know, had the best ease of use, and it's just an all-around fun camera. So, you know, those are my top 10 reasons why I think the Sony a7 III is definitely worth the money. So if you have the coin to foot the bill and you in the market for a bomb all-around camera, this is the way to go. Don't pitch your money on nothing else. Stick with the Sony a7 Mark III, and you will definitely be well pleased. So if you guys would like to purchase the Sony a7 Mark III, down in the description panel, I will leave the links to the a7 Mark III, to my Sigma 16 1.4, to my Rode Video Mic Pro Plus, and to my small HD focus monitor, which I also use, and maybe a couple others that I use on my daily, you know, day-to-day basis when I'm making my YouTube videos and I'm out in the field, you know, in professional environments and things of that nature. So as always, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to comment, you know, for more videos that you guys might like to see. And also let me know what you guys think about this video and other videos down in the comment section. And as always, share, and I'll see you guys in the next one. It's been real.